Chris Kelsey here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of the First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss Underwater. K-Stu is trapped, Matt, at the bottom of the ocean with a crew of motley characters. Unfortunately, one of them being TJ Miller. Things go horribly wrong. Will they survive? We're also going to discuss Hagazussa, currently available on Amazon Prime. It's a witch movie that might not be a witch movie. And then Matt and I are going to share with you what our 5 favorite movies at sea are. And of course, as always, I have some ridiculous rules that I set upon myself to make things as difficult as possible. I'll also tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. And you'll get your straight-to-DVD and streaming picks of the week. If that's what you're here for, Mom and Dad have your presents. So let's take a few minutes, though, and hear a clip from Underwater.
We have about 30 minutes till meltdown.
Okay, guys, listen. The escape pods are gone, and the sub is out of order. And we're not getting any more radio signals. And the structure of the Kepler is totally unsound.
Captain, there better be a good punchline, because the setup is...
So
weak.
We go for the Roebuck.
The Roebuck?
It's a mile down and a mile that way. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
How would we even get that?
We walk.
We what?
Walk.
So we just go in the pitch black and we walk without knowing where we're going with insufficient oxygen? That's the plan?
That's the plan.
Everybody down with that? Nora, you okay with that?
The suits can't be down there that long, you know that. Not everyone here is an experienced diver, and
That we never know.
I'm not trying to be... Can you just admit we might die doing that?
Yeah. But can you admit that we might live doing this?
So do they live? So Matt, why don't you take some time and tell the kids at home what is Underwater all about?
So K-Stu plays Nora. She's a mechanical engineer on a deep water drilling site. I assume somewhere around the Marianas Trench, about 7 miles below the surface. Must be the near future. And there's an accident, and the habitat they're all in starts to collapse. And it's about them trying to get out, but there may be something lurking in the darkness as they try to escape.
Fantastic. So let me ask you, Matt, is Underwater a fun, sea-worthy horror/thriller, or just a derivative bore?
I could see how somebody could say either or. I go with the former. I had a lot of fun watching it. I had really no expectations about this film. I wasn't really expecting much. This kind of smacked of, especially by the very fact that TJ Miller is in it, smacked of something that was shelved and filmed like long ago, and it was just being pulled off the shelf to kind of fill a January slate. And that's basically what this is. But overall, I had a good time. It gets right to the action, it gets right to the story, and it just kind of doesn't let up the whole way. I guess if you stop and think about it, it can be kind of ridiculous and derivative, but I was actually on board, and it's so derivative in some instances that it actually was kind of entertaining. Like, this thing owes so much to Alien and Aliens that I was still having fun with it.
I agree with you. I think it's a solid, entertaining thriller that I think hits all the points it's trying to hit. And let me tell you, man, I felt this thing started off like a rocket. I mean, we don't waste any time in this thing, right? And I think it pretty much maintains a brisk pace all the way through. Is it a little derivative, like you said, of Alien? It's basically an Underwater Aliens kind of franchise film. And maybe TJ Miller's comic relief feels canned and almost shoehorned in at times. I'm saying this regardless of my feelings towards the person that is TJ Miller. Maybe it's a little too cheeky when we're talking about its male gaze. We basically get K-Stu and her delicates for quite a long bit of the running time. Though another long time she's in her deep sea diving suit. Same with Jessica Henwick. But I will say that I think the monster designs were solid. I would have liked maybe to have seen a few more or seen more of them of what we see. But for the most part, I think the scares work as well. And for me, I think what puts this over the edge for me is the reveal of the final monster and who it is. Maybe I'm leaning too much on that reveal, but I was like, oh, is that? And I got all giddy and excited. in the director William Eubank has confirmed it is who I thought it was. And knowing that you're a fan, I believe, of that kind of work, and what was your thoughts when that hit?
Yeah, so when I saw the final reveal, I was like, oh, so that's where they're going with this. And then, of course, the other smaller creatures that's also tied into this particular
Legend or mythology,
mythos, if you will.
Sure.
They, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting it. And it was funny because I, was watching this thing, and there was a little blip of things that come when she's looking at a map. There's a picture of a famous creature on that map, and I thought it was like, oh, see, they're laying the groundwork for you. But,
I didn't catch that at all. Oh,
no, you didn't see it.
You
It was kind of a blink and you miss it kind of thing, yeah. Not to spoil it for anybody too much, but again, you told me you saw this before I did, and you were saying, oh, look out for the little Easter eggs and stuff like that. So I'm looking at all the stuff, looking at Alien. I mean, the underwater suit design looks almost exactly like the suits that they use when they go walking out, investigating the derelict ship. I think even the noises in the kind of command center are the same noises that Mother makes, the computer that talks to them and stuff like that. So that's the stuff I was picking up on. But obviously there's more at the end.
Yeah, no, I had a blast with this thing. I think it's a lot of fun. And previously we were discussing as your January horror entry being that Grudge sequel that we saw a week or so ago, which this is a much better set. This is a lot more fun. And I like you said, I enjoyed the hell out of this thing. There's only so much I can say because I'm trying to avoid spoilers for it. K. Stu is solid in it. The rest of the cast is good. Vincent Cassell, John Gallagher Jr. shows up. I mean, it's a pretty good cast in this too, and it works for what it is, what it's trying to do. It works. It really does. It's a lot of fun. I am gonna give Matt Underwater a B.
Oh, that's exactly the same grade I'm going to give it too. And I will say that while you did make the touch of the point of K-Stu, and I'm sorry, I forget the other principal actress's name, kind of running around. Yeah, running around in their underwear. Because something like about they couldn't fit in their suits if they were wearing pants or whatever. But to be fair, I mean, it's not super gratuitous and it's not like lascivious or anything like that. It's almost incidental. So it's not like it's that offensive or anything like that. So just take that as you will.
Yeah, I don't. There's no long tracking shots of her butt or something like that, right? Where we focus in on that. So I think it's also pretty easy where they could have had just both of them maybe in some, I don't know, whatever the aqua equivalent of yoga pants would be, or a scuba suit or something. Yeah, wetsuits, exactly. So I don't know. Still.
Hey man, she was brushing her teeth. She didn't have time to get ready.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Things go horribly awry when you brush your teeth. That's the lesson, folks. No personal dental hygiene. I would just like to point out, this movie has just really solidified my hate of the ocean. Like I don't want to be on it. I don't want to be under it. The Descent has taught me I never want to go in a cave. And it's not even the monsters. It's like the squeezing through stuff and like not being able to escape. The ocean is a sucker's game. Never going near it. I hate it, and so should everybody else. Exactly. I mean, they also they pee and poo in the ocean. All the sea creatures.
Of course, it's filthy.
So hard pass. No, thank you. If you've had a chance to see underwater, and if you have any thoughts about just the sea in general, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's take a couple minutes and talk about what's coming up on home video this upcoming Tuesday, January 28th. A couple huge films. One of them, I hope, may end up winning Best Picture. The other is a lot better than the movie-going audience gave it credit for, because none of you turned out for it. Let's hear a clip.
Sarah Connor.
Sarah! I'll kill you! I'll kill you!
What are you doing?
Let me have it!
No, Sarah, you need to calm down.
That thing killed John!
Is that true?
Yes. But I'm not what you think I am.
Wow, that's a little spoiler-filled too, isn't it? I probably should have given you a heads up on that. So that's a clip from Terminator Dark Fate. probably one of the better Terminator sequels. It is a lot of fun. It's well done. Some of the best action scenes in the franchise. And nobody went to check it out. If you get it from Best Buy, you can get a cool steel book. Obviously, it's this Terminator skeleton thing, which is always cool looking. And it's some deleted and extended scenes, a Legend Reforged, and more making of featurettes. I will be purchasing Terminator Dark Fate, Matt. No doubt about it.
Yeah, me too.
But the other big release, probably the big release, if we're fair, is Parasite. Bong Joon-ho's just worldwide phenomenon. It's a major success. It's coming out on Blu-ray. Unfortunately, there are nary any special features. There's a Q&A session with Bong, but that's it. But outside of that, it's the best film of the year. So pick it up. Harriet is also coming out on Blu-ray, based on, of course, the story of the iconic freedom fighter Harriet Tubman. And then Edward Norton's Motherless Brooklyn is being released as well. Includes a deleted scene and audio commentary by Norton. New to Blu-ray, Matt, Criterion is releasing a pair of films. First up, Sidney Lumet's Failsafe, with a brand new 4K restoration of the film. Some ported over audio commentary from 2000 featuring Sidney Lumet and more. They're also giving us Pedro Almodovar's All About My Mother, a brand new 2K restoration of that one. There's a 52-minute documentary from 2012 on the making of the film, a new English subtitle translation, and more. Vinegar Syndrome is releasing a pair of films. Well, more than that, but they dabble in the dirty side of business, which we don't typically feature on this show. Only, I guess, when JC from Screen Fix Pod is on. But one of my all-time favorite movies, Matt, has not been available domestically here on Blu-ray at all until now. A classic from USA's Saturday Nightmares, which was a series USA Network used to run, where they ran some classic horror films. That's where I saw Hellraiser, where I saw The Evil Dead. I saw lots of great horror back in the day, but one of my favorite B-movie schlock classics, Flesh Eating Mothers, is getting released by Vinegar Syndrome. There's an exclusive 2000 run slipcover directly if you buy it from them. This also applies to their other release we'll talk about. But Flesh Eating Mothers, basically a venereal disease turns an entire town into cannibals. All the moms, right? All the wives get turned into cannibals by the guys who've been cheating on their wives. There's also some commentary about law enforcement and stuff too, but either way, there's a new scan to restore 2K from the original 16mm archive elements, a brand new commentary track with the director, and a couple new interviews. Let me tell you, I have pre-ordered this from Grindhouse Video here in Tampa, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this sucker.
I've never even heard of it.
No? Oh, it's great. It is just, well, here's the thing. I haven't watched it in 20 plus years. So who knows when yeah, we'll see. We'll see when I pop it in and watch it. I did actually break down and bought Arrow's RoboCop Special Edition too. It's already going out of print, I guess, and it's got a lot of cool limited edition features. But one of the things I need to have, what finally broke me down, was the inclusion of the TV cut. Because I don't think, even if it gets re-released on 4K, a lot of those features aren't going to transfer over. And there's no way they're going to include the TV cut in that. Now, granted, it's standard definition, but seeing something as vulgar and as violent as RoboCop and having the opportunity to see the TV edit was just too fun an opportunity for me to pass up. Vinegar Syndrome, as I said, is also releasing Zombie Island Massacre. Americans on vacation in the Caribbean take a tour out of a nearby island at night and watch a local voodoo ritual. Soon after, they find themselves stranded on an island under attack by unseen foes. A new 2K scan of that from the original 35mm camera negative, the original theatrical trailer, some multiple TV spots, and a sizzle reel. Not much going on in the special features, but there probably wasn't much to get. Arrow is releasing Edge of the Axe. An axe murderer terrorizes a small Northern California mountain community, while two young computer-obsessed adults attempt to solve the killings. Diabolic DVD has a special edition cover you can only get if you buy it from them directly. A brand new 2K restoration from the original camera negative on this one. English and Spanish language versions of the movie. A new translated English subtitles as well. This is a Spanish film, I should point out. New audio commentaries and more. Warner Archive is releasing a pair of films, two on a guillotine and underwater, a different one, this one starring Jane Russell. Sony is releasing a few 90s stuff from their catalog. Very Bad Things, Body Parts, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, American Outlaws, Trial by Jury, and Wild America. Your straight DVD pick of the week, Matt. Well, I don't know, maybe we need to work this one in. Bloods versus wolves. On the streets of New York, a supernatural war is being waged between rival gangs of vampires and ghetto-dwelling werewolves. And no place is safe from the most powerful and brutal beasts on the planet. The Bloods are bloodsuckers who dominate the downtown area by exercising absolute authority over the financial institutions, real estate developers, and of course, the blood banks. Though the Bloods may hold power over the most affluent areas of the city, it's the shape-shifting wolves who reign supreme in the dilapidated downtown slums. Their long-standing truce is shattered, however, when greed takes hold and a dark fury thrusts the entire city into chaos. So it looks like we have some social commentary there, Matt, in this Bloods versus Wolves, both with Z's.
Well, that's what I need. I refuse to see a movie unless it has social commentary in it. You know me.
So what should we be streaming this week, then?
I'm going to recommend a friend of the show, Lady One, in our last show with the big blood extravaganza for the end of the year. She threw off a throwaway comment about Overlord, and I caught up with it again, and I actually probably enjoyed it more the second time around than I did the first. So I'm going to go out and recommend Overlord, the, I guess, Cloverfield adjacent film about World War II paratroopers uncovering a nefarious Nazi plot involving zombies and the occult and everything else. It's a cool, tight little war thriller horror movie. It's available on Amazon Prime and Hulu. So you got a twofer, whatever is available to you.
Nice. I picked this up on 4K on Black Friday for like $5.
Nice.
I thought it was worth. I thought it was worth the $5.
It is worth the $5, yeah.
So let me ask you. That makes me wonder. How do you think would Underwater be improved if it was a Cloverfield film, or to be lessened, or what do you think?
I think it'd be cool if it was a Cloverfield film, but I mean, honestly, it's fun enough either way. I mean, this is one of those films I'm like, you know what? Once it's at a certain price point, I'm gonna buy it. So
yeah, no, I'm inclined to agree with you. Good times. Let's move on then, Matt. Let's spend a few minutes talking about Hagazussa, a heathen's curse.
Albron! Grüß dich. Der Pfarrer hat mich geschickt. Er hat gemeint, dass du runterkommen sollst. Er darf gern mit dir reden. Ich begleite runter.
So let me just tell you, never walk with somebody who is pretending, says they're your friend. They want to have you meet the local priest. And then you meet up a little later with her buddy, and then, no.
Yeah, no.
So Hagazussa is a old High German word for witch. And fresh off of Robert Eggers' Witch, which is a fan favorite here of the big show.
Mm-hmm.
This time we have Albrun, who we start off, Matt, when she's a young girl, and then her mother gets ill, and then she passes. There's a lot of weird, creepy stuff that happens during that window. And then we fast forward, 15 years. Mm-hmm. She's now in their cottage on her own. She has a child herself. And she is dealing with since she's out kind of in the woods, dealing with bigotry and persecution as she occasionally runs into people. And just basically trying to survive while there's something horrible always lurking somewhere, either in the background or perhaps in her mind or more, or something else. So Matt, let me ask you, was Hagazussa too much vitch? Your double V witch there?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it a great spine-tingling horror import all on its own?
Well, I don't think it's too much witch or too much vitch, as the case may be. In fact, maybe it could have used a little more vitch. But because this thing, even though it's in German, has very little dialogue. So this is very reminiscent of like a German expressionistic film, because it's all mood and visual images that kind of sets the mood. And it's definitely a very unsettling film, especially as it kind of barrels towards its climax, and it just kind of, just more and more horrifying things just kind of pile up onto each other until it's like just kind of crushes you under the weight of it. It's definitely one of those films that gets you into a weird headspace, and it's the type of film like the Neon Demon or Climax that I'm going to think about for a long ass time, and I'm probably going to keep revisiting it, even though I'm not even sure I had a good time watching it the first time around. It's one of those films that's going to stick with you because it's just, the images are just so nightmarish.
Exactly. It like you said, and I wrote to Pop Cult Net. James Baker had asked me too, because I posted on the tweets that I was watching it with my dog. And my dog had a reaction to it, even in the beginning. I guess it was probably the bass and the music, which is a lot of this, kind of. But this, you're right. It's just all mood and atmosphere until it takes a dark and truly disturbing turn that really upset me. It was viscerally, I had a visceral gut reaction to it when this one particular kind of moment happens in the film. Actually, a couple things. It's not, I kind of look at it as an alternate take on Eggers the Witch. I don't think it's too entirely derivative of it. I think that I had read that the director, Lucas Fiegelfeld, which I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of that, he wanted to take the kind of this legend, this Germanic legend of the witch, and how it, look at it almost from the real life kind of perspective of the witch, right? It's an alternate explanation, the other side of these myths about the bigotry and persecution of people potentially who have mental illness. You know, what happens maybe also when you imbibe psychedelics, all in the Middle Ages. And for most of running time, Matt, I was wondering, I don't think this is even a supernatural kind of film at all.
No.
Except I think for the end, when I think it truly becomes one. But like I said, it's all mood and atmosphere with some, like you said, really truly disturbing images. I don't know if this is going to work for your average horror fan. Oh,
definitely not. Not at all.
It's not so much about scares and spells and gore, even though there's one scene that just is going to sit in my head for a very long time. It's more kind of psychological horror supported by this well-trodden horror trope. It is at times very truly disturbing, and it is an unsettling experience. It'll stick with me. I don't know if I ever want to watch it again. I mean, it's not like Unbreakable. I'm sorry, not Unbreakable. Irreversible. That one set, but it's still it's an experience. I feel like I want to give this a B as well, because I think what it tries and sets out to do, it's as just like Underwater, but in a very different way. It's very successful at what it's trying to do. It just kind of gives you the, when you're watching it. But it's well done, and it's quite good, but very upsetting.
Yeah, shocker of all shocks. I'm going to give it the exact same grade. I think you hit the nail on the head in the fact that this is definitely not for everybody. This is a challenging film. I think you have to be, like, I wouldn't unconditionally recommend this to a horror fan or like a casual movie fan, but if somebody who's like really kind of in the weeds of, you're looking for something different, and you are of that bent, I would definitely recommend it. So I think I would give it a B with a conditional recommendation that it's not for everybody and you've been warned. But obviously this is the complete polar opposite. It's an interesting pairing of these two films that we had. You had one that's just this kind of fun, out of nowhere thriller nonstop, and then there's this other film where it's just this kind of slog into dread where nothing really happens until everything happens at the end. So like it's really just a weird dichotomy, and I like this kind of pairing that we did here. I think it was an interesting take for this show.
Yes. So if you had a chance to see Hagazussa, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Hagazussa is currently available as part of Amazon Prime's offerings. All right, Matt. So in honor of Underwater, we're going to spend a few minutes and talk about our 5 favorite movies that take place at sea. Here's one that didn't make the cut. Now, I apologize, folks. It's going to be a little longer of a clip, but it is a classic moment from just an absolute trash film. But it is a ton of fun. And I'm spoiling it, basically, because this is the best moment in the whole movie. But I wanted to give it a little bit of love.
You could bring the whole facility down. We're better off taking our chances with the sharks.
Hey, you want to go swim with your little fishes, miss? You go right ahead. Me? I'm opening this door, and I'm climbing out of here.
The hell you are.
Hey, I don't work for you anymore, okay? I don't have to take your orders.
That's enough now, from all of you. You think water's fast? You should see ice. It moves like it has a mind. Like it knows it killed the world once. It got a taste for murder. When the avalanche came, it took us a week to climb out. And somewhere, we lost hope. Now, I don't know exactly when we turned on each other. I just know that 7 of us survived the slide, and only 5 made it out. Now, we took an oath that I'm breaking now. Swore that we said was the snow killed the other 2. But it wasn't. Nature can be lethal, but it doesn't hold a candle to man. Now, you've seen how bad things can get and how quick they can get that way. Well, they can get a whole lot worse. So we're not going to fight anymore. We're going to pull together and we're going to find a way to get out of here. First, we're going to seal off this movie.
That is such a classic moment because you don't see it coming. At least I didn't at the time.
No, I did not either. No.
So that is a clip from Deep Blue Sea where there are some genetically engineered sharks, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. They're like super sharks.
And they're all trapped underneath in this station, and they got to figure out how to get out and survive. And as Sam Jackson's making that powerful, motivating speech, a shark comes up out of this little reservoir water thing and drags them back into the ocean. And it is a classic moment. If you haven't seen Deep Blue Sea, it's trash, but it's a lot of fun. The whole movie is it's horrible, but it's a blast. If you like bad shark movies that are fun, you can't really go wrong with Deep Blue Sea. So here's part of the issue. For this list, I wanted to make sure that my 5 films, the majority of the time, took place at sea, like a large. So for me, Jaws is off the limit, off the books, right?
I really went back and forth. I put Jaws on the list. I'll go ahead and spoil it. I did put Jaws on the list just because they spent like half the movie at sea.
See, I couldn't remember what the timing was, so I'm like, I'm just, and it's such a layup answer for me. Not to disrespect you at all, because I would never dream to do that. So I kept it off of mine. But I couldn't watch, though. You come back and I'm wrong about most of mine.
Okay, there you go.
I'll go first. I'll give you the ultimate number 1. So okay. I think, now here's where I think I could be wrong. So if I'm wrong, somebody correct me and I'll just swap it out with this other one. But my number 5 is The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. With Bill Murray. Out of all my other films are kind of dramas or action films. Yeah. But this is Wes Anderson, the king of, what do they call it now? Twee or something like that? I don't know.
Okay.
Just all cork. But one of my favorite Bill Murray performances where it's kind of this riff, this satire of Jacques Cousteau. And it is just very endearing and funny, sweet. And it has a great killer Bowie soundtrack. Some Bowie music. Also some stuff played by Sui Jorge or George. I apologize. Either way, it's a lot of fun. It's an underrepresented and underappreciated, I think, Anderson film, but it's one of my favorites, so it's my number 5, Life Aquatic.
Yeah, I haven't seen Life Aquatic in so long. I couldn't remember that much about it. I really like Wes Anderson films, but I don't remember that much about that one, so I didn't put it on the list.
And if I'm wrong and half of that thing takes place on land, then I'd swap it out, I think, with Captain Phillips.
All right, there you go. All right, so my number 5 is one of the things that first leaped to mind when you mentioned this list, or I saw this list. So my number 5 is Master and Commander. Basically stars Russell Crowe as a privateer British naval captain who's kind of has I think they go to the Galapagos Islands and they're kind of bouncing around in all over the world. It basically takes place completely on tall ships, kind of has that naval battle feel. It's got this kind of epic sweep that I thought was really cool at the time, especially like in IMAX and things like that.
That's a good pick. I like that one. My number 4 is All Is Lost. Robert Redford is just a guy going out for a sail, and everything goes wrong. His little sailboat starts to break down. He's in the middle of nowhere, and he has to survive. He has to figure out what he's going to do to get home. as a storm, the squall comes in while his boat is starting to sink. And it is gripping. There's almost no dialogue in this one. It's because it's just Redford on a boat. Right. And it's one of my favorite performances, later day performances by him. It is gripping, it is exciting, it is tense, and it is quite a trip. So if you haven't seen All Is Lost, you should definitely check it out. It's a great one. It's my number 4.
Okay. So I'm not sure if this really counts because this is the ocean is completely digital ink, but my number 4 is Finding Nemo. Basically, you travel through the ocean on a journey of a father getting back his son. You go through the transatlantic currents, all kinds of cool stuff, and it's a blast.
Didn't even occur to me. I think that's fair. I'd put that as an honorable mention. That's a good pick. I totally forgot about that. I didn't think about any animated films at all.
Yeah, I was trying to think outside the box a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see where Aquaman shows up on your list. My number 3 is the aforementioned Master and Commander. I'm actually surprised it was so low on your list. Mm-hmm. It is another film that is, I think, criminally underappreciated, and I think deserved a sequel. It is swashbuckling adventure of the highest order. It is a lot of fun, and Russell Crowe is great in this thing, as is Paul Bettany, and it's a great adventure film, and it just didn't do well, unfortunately. I don't know why. I don't know if it just didn't have a great ad campaign. I don't know, but it's just one of those things that just didn't capture the imagination of the public, which is a shame. If you haven't seen Master and Commander, it is a blast. I promise you will love it. It's my number 3.
It's a good pick. All right, so my number 3 is a film that takes place mostly in a tin can, and I knew I wanted to include a sub pick, but I wasn't sure which one I wanted to put on there. But then I decided, you know what? Let's be pretentious, and I picked Das Boot, which is about a German U-boat. It's obviously all in German, but it is the tensest, quickest moving 3 hours of a film that takes place in one location that you'll ever watch, and it's pretty much required viewing if you consider yourself a cinephile.
Nice. That's Wolfgang Petersen's first film, right? Or at least his big film that kind of made him.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
No, you haven't?
No.
Oh, you should put it on. I know we're already doing a Shameless, so maybe we'll have to do Shameless Part 2 for 2021.
We should, because I also haven't seen The Abyss.
Oh, okay. Well, that may just show up later.
2 films that I am ashamed to say I never caught up with. Mm-hmm. So my number 2, then, speaking of submarine movies, is the Tom Clancy-based thriller, The Hunt for Red October. The first in the Jack Ryan films. You have Alec Baldwin playing Mr. Ryan, and of course the fantastic Sean Connery as the Russian submarine captain who is attempting to defect. Yes. Matt's air quotes with Russian, or a Russian with a Scottish accent.
Yeah, I know, right? Just like his Spaniard with a Scottish accent.
That's right. I know I'm sure he demanded that they break from that they transition from that Russian to English as soon as possible in that film.
Right.
But I think they handled the transition pretty well. I like how they did it. Either way, lots of fun. It's got intrigue, mystery, right? Lots of thrills. And I think one of the better films of the 90s, The Hunt for Red October. It is very entertaining, and you get some great performances out of Baldwin and Connery. Sam Neill is quite good in this as well. James Earl Jones, of course. I always kind of wonder what would have happened with the Jack Ryan series if Baldwin had stuck with it. Now, granted, if you're going to replace him with anybody, I think Harrison Ford was the correct decision. Right. I have not been a fan of any of the Jack Ryan stuff really since. Mm-hmm. The Chris Pine one is horrible. The Affleck one is terrible. Yeah, the Ben Affleck one's it's okay. It's not as bad as the Chris Pine one, I don't think.
I don't think I've seen the Chris Pine one.
The Krasinski series is underwhelming. I haven't seen season 2 though, so maybe it redeems itself in that second season. I don't know. But still, The Hunt for Red October is like my number 1 is like a TNT classic that would just run forever. Anytime it's on, I'm basically going to finish. Right? If I'm, you're going through the channels and it's on, I'm going to sit and finish it. It's one of those movies. So that's my number 2.
All right. My number 2 is the aforementioned Jaws. I went back and forth on this one. Obviously, it's an absolute stone cold classic film. Maybe one of several films that could be of Steven Spielberg's that could be classified as the elusive perfect film or a perfect film. But when I really thought about it, the whole sequence of them going out, hunting for the shark out on the open ocean, that's where at least half the movie takes place. And this is the first movie that really solidified as a young lad, as I was watching this when I shouldn't be watching it, that the ocean is not your friend and you should stay away from it.
No, that's true. That is, oh God, that thing scarred me for a very long time, probably even to this day. So then my number one is another submarine movie. And listen, I am perfectly aware that this is not classic highbrow cinema, all right? But what Tony Scott is able to deliver with Crimson Tide is just peak 90s kind of action thriller. Listen to this. You got Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman, George Lazenda, Viggo Mortensen, James Gandolfini, all right? And this I love Gene Hackman. I think we should do a Hackman marathon at some point. I think he's one of the... Is he underrated as an actor? You never hear really people... he's been retired for a long time now.
Yeah. No, I think he's just underappreciated as an actor. I think at his prime, French Connection, even Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
He's got some great all-time classic roles. It's just like you said, he's kind of faded from the public consciousness because he retired.
So, but he is chewing up all kinds of scenery in this thing. So Denzel as well. It's got all the Tony Scott kind of misses before he got really too crazy experimental, like in Man on Fire. But still, Crimson Tide is one of my all-time favorite films. It is just a blast to watch. It is endlessly entertaining, and maybe with just a dusting of cheese that makes it all worthwhile. I watched it again, I don't know, like a year ago, and I was still riveted. It is just high quality dad entertainment. It's one of those kind of movies. So I made it my number one. Oh, and a fantastic score, by Hans Zimmer. It's actually the score that got me into Zimmer. Was the one for this film. So there you go.
Yeah, Crimson Tide is great. I remember when I watched that thing, it really was a lot of fun. So it's a good pick. All right, so my number one is a film that Chris hasn't seen. It's peak James Cameron, which is The Abyss. Basically, I thought it was a good capper. A deep sea drilling team encounters some kind of undersea life that they don't know what to do with, and is beyond their comprehension. It stars, Ed Harris. It has obviously James Cameron, Principal Michael Biehn. If he's not in it somewhere, at least somewhere, it's not a James Cameron movie as far as I'm concerned. So it's a fun kind of peak early Cameron film that has just some wild stuff in it that you should really check out if you haven't seen it. It's really like late 80s, like it's late 80s or early 90s sci-fi film. So that had a bunch of imitators like Deep Star 6 and other things that tried to cash in on its hype, but none of them could touch it.
I just watched Leviathan this week, or this weekend. I remember liking it. That's the one with Peter Weller. I remember really liking it when I was a kid, and I had bought it used on Blu-ray, but it was on Amazon Prime, so that's how I ended up watching it, and I kind of regret that purchase now. So I never watched The Abyss because I just when it came out, I wasn't in the mood for a sappy sci-fi drama type thing, so it just didn't appeal to me. I know since then I'm kicking myself for not checking it out. Have you seen the extended version? Is it better? Any good? Is it good?
Yeah, it's got some more James Cameron wankery in it. I won't spoil it, but there's a lot more stuff to it. It's kind of like watching the Aliens extended cut. It takes what you gain in some kind of additional scenes and kind of just more immersion in that world. It kind of sacrificed some of the kind of leanness and propelled forward stuff of it. So I'd watch the theatrical cut first.
Yeah, this is up there with True Lies as the unreleased Blu-rays.
Oh, it is?
That people want. Yeah, it's not. It has never been available.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
And I don't know what it is. What the hesitation from Kim? Why he's not?
Wonder what the hesitation with True Lies is.
I think it's because of the terrorism aspect.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen. Obviously, It hasn't been available, so I haven't seen it in forever. I mean, all I remember is Bill Paxton playing a sleazy car salesman, and then Jamie Lee Curtis doing like a weird sexy dance. That's all I can remember about that film.
So it says here, I'm on the Wikipedia page, that in 2017 that they were working on a 4K transfer of The Abyss, and it would be coming out in early 2017.
Oh, really?
He said that in 2016, excuse me, at Comic-Con.
Okay.
And nothing. Oh, it's typical.
Right.
Cameron, right.
Right. Well, he's too busy making 37 Avatar sequels.
Dear God.
Are they going to beam it straight of the, like, is it going to be like, like real? Like, are they going to have the movie's actually like a play and there's going to be actors in front of the theater doing it to make it more realistic?
Yeah, let's hope so. It's like Rainforest Cafe come to life, the movie. So, do you have any honorable mentions then?
Obviously, the other two submarine films that you mentioned, The Hunt for Red October and Crimson Tide. And I'm also going to throw out there the original Pirates of the Caribbean. I remember I had absolutely zero expectations for that movie, and I actually had a really good time watching it the first time. I mean, obviously, it's aged poorly, or at least when it's kind of taken as a whole, it's not great, but that first one's still a lot of fun.
I had, as I mentioned before, Captain Phillips, Jaws, I guess. I just don't think more than half that film takes place at sea.
Okay.
The submarine ghost film Below. I don't know if you've seen that one, Bruce Davidson. I've always kind of enjoyed that. The original Mutiny on the Bounty. I would have probably put it in my top 5, but I have not seen it for 25 years, so I couldn't remember. I just didn't want to take that chance. Though it's a classic. Titanic, I guess. And then another submarine movie, U-571, with Matthew McConaughey, is pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Aquaman, because that Black Manta design, it kicks ass.
Yeah. I'm kind of kicking myself. I forgot about Aquaman. That should have been on there.
And there's and they're riding like big alligators and fish and stuff. And then there's...
I like the Crabmen. That was fun.
There you go. What are your 5 favorite movies at sea? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Next week, Matt, Color Out of Space is getting a limited release, but not around here. So we'll be checking out, it looks like, The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie going back to his roots to British gangster films. From what I understand, it's reasonably entertaining, but it does feature Charlie Hunnam. So, never a good sign for me. I have nothing against the guy personally. I just have yet to see a performance of his that's really blown me away. What is it, The Lost City of Z?
Yeah, I didn't think it was that great. I don't understand what all the buzz about that movie was.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this will be the one. Maybe Charlie will cross the Tatum line for us this week. We'll find out. In the interim, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. We're on YouTube and Instagram. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you will find us. Go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. It'll help other people find the show, and I will read it on there. And that's it, Matt. So why don't we go ahead? Nice short and sweet episode this week, huh? Get you on the go. It's a little breather for that. We're still recovering from that mammoth 2-hour show.
That's right.
So we're going to go ahead then, take an extended break, and we will see you all soon.
Supposedly, Cousteau and his cronies invented the idea of putting walkie-talkies into the helmet. But we made ours with a special rabbit ear on the top so we could pipe in some music.